G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Betty Brennan from Taylor Studios based near Chicago in the United States. Thanks for your time today, Betty.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So on LinkedIn, we connected. We're always looking for more guests, particularly female owners, to keep the balance 50-50 on the cast. So really appreciate you coming on the show today.
You're welcome.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Sure. So we plan, design, and build exhibits for museums, nature centers, corporations, universities. So you can see our work in places like Gettysburg, Adler Planetarium, national parks, state parks. So we have a lot of artists on staff, graphic designers, exhibit designers, and storytellers. They're called interpreters, metal workers, woodworkers, sculptors, painters. So we have a really diverse staff. And so we make it by doing those projects.
Great. Sounds like a really interesting and diverse business, what you offer to your customers.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. Yes.
And how did you start out?
So I started with a co-owner. He was the artist and I was the business side. We did have a mail order division in the early days. I mean, it was a really humble start on the kitchen table, garage, renovated chicken coop. And then we just pounded the pavement and grew from there.
And what year was that?
1991.
Right. Wow. 31 years old, the business. That's great.
Yeah. I started it when I was 3. No.
I was going to say, that's the next question. How old are you? How old were you?
I don't want to age myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, early 20s would have been around that time when you decided?
Yeah, I was 25 years old when we started.
Yeah.
So we learned about the industry when Joe was my business partner. He was the artist. He worked for like a taxidermist when we were in college, and we lived across the street from each other. And that taxidermist got a job making trees for a nature center. And so then we realized, wow, people actually do this for a living. There's a whole industry of people that make exhibits for museums and nature centers. So and we have a love of the outdoors and history. I have an MBA, but I love the outdoors and history and archaeology and paleontology and all of that.
Yeah, fantastic. It's just sounds like such a wonderful niche to be in, something you're really passionate about too, from the sounds of it.
Right. Yeah. It's a pretty cool niche to teach the world about those things. Yeah.
And do you have some key numbers to illustrate the growth of business over those 31 years?
Yeah. And so in 1994 was our first over $100,000 year. In 2000, we made the Inc. 500 list. So that was a goal I set back when I was in business school that is
phenomenal, Betty. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. We made the Inc. 5000 in 2009 and again, or in 2007. So twice after that, we made the Inc. 5000. But so from that one, they measured growth from 1995 to 1999. And that was over a 200% growth rate. So from 200,000 in sales to over 1.4 million, went from 4 employees to 24 employees. So we're now multiples of that.
Yep. Great. And so 2 FTE and how many full-time?
That was in 1999. So we hired our first 2 employees in 1994. Today we have over 35 full-time employees, and we hire a lot of freelancers because it's a project-based business. So there's peaks and valleys in our business. So we have a bunch that will come to our shop or will freelance too.
Right. Yeah, I guess because I live in Australia, we're about 1/23 the size of the US. If I've had enough coffee this morning to get those numbers right, but I just wouldn't think there would be a big enough market for something like this. But do you have many competitors in the space? Would you say that your business is the leader in this niche?
No, it's actually surprising. Like, who doesn't want to do this for a living? Right? Who doesn't want to build woolly mammoths? Right.
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised. Yeah. No, the competition is intense. So we have to win work often through an RFP process. And it's not unusual to have 8 to 10 competitors. And so there's some really, really large firms within the industry, and they work all over the world. And we have. So there's actually a lot of competitors.
Right. When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
The Inc. 500 was pretty special to me. I know that was a long time ago, but I set that goal as a business student, maybe 20 years old, and maybe, on a drunken night said, hey, I want to make the Inc. 500 someday. And so then, to actually do it, almost 10 years later, felt like success.
Yeah, great.
Like, hey, wow, this is real.
What does success look like to you?
For me, it's, meeting those goals, overcoming hardships, continue to learn. For us, I've left a legacy. We've completed over 700 projects in 45 states and 4 countries, teaching the world about history and nature and culture. So that's quite a legacy. So that's successful. The business has, helped me with my personal goals too. I do have horses and a farm.
Yep.
I've been able to travel all over the world. So, it's led to those personal success too.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
For us, because we're a project-based business, it's really about our reputation. So building relationships is really important, whether it's with clients or, partners and that in our industry. So that reputation is everything. We use all kinds of marketing methods, but for us, it's our reputation and relationships.
And you don't use Net Promoter Score, but you do measure like customer retention or loyalty another way, don't you?
Yeah, we have, a lot. I'm very measurement oriented. Our repeat client rate is 65%.
That's
so. If you think about these exhibits, sometimes they stay in these locations 10 to 20 years. They don't do them over and over again. So that's a fairly phenomenal statistic when you think about the longevity of the product that we build.
Yes.
Now, some of those repeat clients are, Arkansas State Parks hires us for 5 different sites. But it's surprisingly, our clients also come back 10 years later, or they need, an extra component to an exhibit. So we have a high repeat client rate.
Yeah, that is great. And terrific marketing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did you fund the business?
We bootstrapped it. Then over the years, we do have a credit line because it's a percent complete that we're paid on. And so we're often financing the project. So we've been, get a credit line, and I've bought buildings. So that was, we did get loans for those.
Mm-hmm.
So I have another business called Brennan Commercial Properties that was, the buildings that we bought. So we did take out loans for those, but we're very much about bootstrapping and investing back in the business.
Yeah. And you didn't take any investors on along the way, just yourself?
Yep. Just ourselves.
Yeah. Great.
And
if you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I would, but for me, bootstrapping was the right approach because I was young and I had so much to learn. So that worked for me because, I wasn't risking as much in the beginning and learning as I went. But I think if you know a project-based business and you know how to do it, I think, you'll get your ROI.
Yeah. And your co-founder left the business, is that right?
Yeah, I bought him out in about 2004-ish.
Yep. Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yeah, over 30 years, there were many of those.
Mm-hmm.
One that stands out is my first layoff was in 2009. We had a $1 million project, and that business that we were a subcontractor under went out of business. So it's kind of heart-wrenching to have done that.
Yep.
And then at that same time, like in 2007, I bought a 75,000 square foot building. And so you kind of know what happened in 2007, 2008.
Yeah, good time.
So it was kind of like bad timing
Holy
to buy a building. Yeah. And so then, just the cash flow crunch at that time, and over that 30 years, some of the hardest stuff is just the employees and meeting their needs and concerns and keeping them engaged. That's a constant as far as the journey.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine with so many creatives in your business. I've worked with several businesses, web design is one that's got creatives, and they can be more challenging sometimes to manage. Yeah,
they're more sensitive than us business types. I don't know how to phrase that.
Yes.
And I think it's changed over the decades too. I would say it's harder today than it was what the expectations of employees are from where they work is harder today than it used to be.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Where in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think, you don't have a business without customers, right? So sales is critical to the success of your business. And, I would say finance and accounting is right up there with that, so those are the two key levers that I think we've been very particular about and helped us grow this business. Yeah.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
It's that managing those employees, getting a group of people moving in the same direction towards a vision and keeping them engaged and happy. That's really difficult.
Like herding
So,
cats.
yeah. Yeah. So that's always that's a constant struggle. So you got to learn how to do that. If I were to do it over, I would have learned, more emotional intelligence earlier on.
Yep.
I've learned like how I say things is, the way that an owner, view yourself the way that employees view you. And so you just kind of got to be careful how you say things and what you say. And so I wish I'd learned a little bit more a leadership and emotional intelligence and things earlier on.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
Yeah, I love that I'm fiercely independent. So I like the independence and the freedom that it brings. And, it helped me achieve things and for my personal goals and travel the world. And, that legacy I talked about, what we've done here is kind of incredible.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Employees want more than a paycheck. It's
Yep.
And so yeah, it's the same thing. I think it's emotional intelligence, learning how to communicate and lead a group of people.
A lot of HR surveys show that pay is the fifth reason why people work somewhere. So it's alignment to vision, that they've got a good manager that looks after them and also develops them, and they've got challenging work. So pay is often not the biggest lever that you can do to recruit and let alone retain people.
Right. Yeah.
What's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a habit, but I think you need grit, and so be open-minded, curious, constantly learning, and you'll get through the ups and downs. And so you got to have the grit to get through the ups and downs of business. So I think that's a trait. I don't know if it's a habit, but
yep.
I think it becomes one. You become more emotionally resilient over time as you get through the challenges. And so just sort of stick it out. You can do it. Yeah.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. GrowSmallBusiness.com.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes and advice for those listening? You would have, hired a lot of people, hundreds of people, I'm guessing, over those 31 years, including freelancers. So you might have some good advice for the audience on this.
Yeah, what I learned is that attitude is more important than skill.
Yep.
And so learning how to interview for that, we say we want to hire hungry, humble, and smart. And so, we use some behavioral interview techniques and how you ask the questions. So you could look that up, behavioral interviewing, because past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior.
Absolutely. It's the primary method these days in interviews that I see is behavioral interview. So you'll ask them questions to explain, in this situation, tell us the time that you did a project like this, and you circle back, you ask that same kind of angle 2 or 3 times, and you'll pick up whether if they repeat good things or they change their story a bit, and you just need them talking more than what you are talking, and to try and listen to those words.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about a time when. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other advice for adding people to the team?
Yeah, it is attitude. You can teach skills. I mean, obviously, in some of the positions, you need the skill set, but I think it's about the attitude, because one bad apple can ruin the whole team. So, group dynamics is a really important aspect of running a successful team and, getting that teamwork. So, I would say study group dynamics too. That
kind of leads us into the next question. What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, I think establish your mission and your core values and then live them. So we do ask questions about our core values to make sure the person matches so that they know that they're a cultural fit also. And so know what you stand for as a company. And a vision statement also is helpful. So really, I would say really work on your mission statement and your core values and know who you are.
I think that's a really simple way to weed people out. It's just a question I ask sometimes. Tell us about our vision or mission and our core values. And if they haven't read the website and done their research on you, then, at the very least, that's a big strike against for me.
Yeah, then they're not, do they have the interest in your company?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Yeah, for me, I have horses in a farm. And so, you got to feed them like twice a day. So you can't be working when you're doing that. So that's helped me. And you can't really think about running a business when you're on a horse's back trying to stay on. So I'm very much into the outdoors and nature. So using that to go hiking or be out on a horse has really brought balance to my life, for the early years, I worked a lot, I kept a timesheet and I would make sure I worked more than the employees. So I've been able to slow down the last 4 or so years, but the farm and horses, having the animals, because you got to take care of them and it keeps you physically healthy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
Yeah, quite a bit. I joined an organization called Vistage. So are you familiar with Vistage?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of coaching and training for CEOs and owners of companies. So you're assigned a coach and then you have a group of other business owners that you meet with once a month.
Yep.
And then they also bring in speakers and they do tons of training. So I was in that for about a decade. And then even when my coach left Vistage, I followed him.
Yep.
I'm a constant learner. So I'm constantly reading business books, listening to books, online learning, all that. So I believe in that for sure.
Yeah. So you've had coaches. Anything else on mentors or coaches?
Yeah. I just encourage it. I have a group of women too that I meet with every 2 months, and they're all high levels. I call them my C-suite girls. And so having that sounding board, because, being a business owner can be a lonely position. And so having other business owners to talk to is, I think, really helpful for mental health, and then to hold you accountable too. So those business owners would hold me accountable to what I said I was going to do. And so as an owner, it's good to have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
No, just what I talked about. I certainly use even accountants and lawyers and outside consultants. My board of directors has been me and my dog. So. But I use those trusted advisors all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, this question we don't often ask of people, but you've got some exciting news. The reason why we've had to bump this, a couple of months ago. Do you want to tell the audience what's just happened?
Yeah, big news. Yeah, this is just 5 weeks old. So it's, from growing this company from a kitchen table to where it is today, I just sold it 5 weeks ago.
Congratulations. Yeah,
thank you. So big personal news. It's I haven't absorbed it all myself yet, but yeah, and some of that journey, I've always had a plan, even a will and trust to make sure I'm taking care of my staff. If I fall off a horse or something, I wanted to make sure I took care of my clients and my employees. So I've always had a contingency plan. So I would say contingency planning in everything I've done has been really important. So for 3 years, I had a consultant because I thought I might sell to some of my leadership team. So that consultant came in and taught what it means to be an owner. But that didn't work out. So I put it out on the market earlier in 2001. So it was on the market, in June, and then
2021, early 2021.
2021. And we closed on December 15th.
Well, that's good outcome.
It was fast. The due diligence period of that was intense. I was on the phone at midnight sometimes with my lawyer. So it's an intense thing to do. But I was very particular too. I wanted to know a buyer that would isn't going to flip the company, was going to stay here so that my staff could, keep their jobs, wouldn't come in and, eliminate staff that wanted to grow. And I got all of that in Reggie Binford, who bought the company.
Mhm.
And we now have a sibling company because he bought another one earlier that year and he owns several others, but we're under this umbrella called Innovative Companies, Inc. And so that sibling company is called Merchandising Partners. And so they have about 8 employees. So the numbers I gave you earlier technically are different because we're a bigger company, even a bigger company than that.
Yeah.
As of 5 weeks ago.
And was the business pretty set up, ready for sale, or did you have to do much over those 3 years? Did did they help you prepare the business for sale, or you'd pretty much had it ready to go?
Yeah, obviously there are things that help you sell your business more profitably. And unfortunately, one of those is sales growth.
Yeah.
And through COVID, our sales went down since 2019, not much, but obviously if there had been sales growth, that would have been better. I think one of the things that I've been able to do here is develop that leadership team. So, when I slow down, I'm 54 now. I had a goal that I would slow down a little bit by the time I was 50. And the only way I could do that is to have a leadership team that can operate while I'm not here, or I'm taking a vacation, or I'm riding a horse. And so, but that also makes the company very viable for someone buying it, to know that there's a leadership team in place here, that can help run the company. I think that makes it way more valuable. For me, what was financially good is I own 2 buildings. So I have the Brennan commercial properties. So that has helped financially over all the years, even though back in 2007, when the market crashed, it was a really risky thing to do, but that's really paid off financially. And he bought the buildings also. So that's helped the value of the company.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Betty, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I think it's the people, right? I keep repeating myself, but it's all, you don't have a business without the people. So learning how to get that group of people moving towards the same vision is a tricky thing.
Yeah, I agree. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I read a ton, and so it's not any one, but one author I really like and I would encourage is Patrick Lencioni. There's the Ideal Team Player. There's the 1 Minute Manager. Temptations of a CEO. He's a great business writer, so I would encourage people to check him out. I like Peter Drucker too.
Yeah, love Drucker.
Yeah.
The 1 Minute Manager, that was like 90s or late 80s, I think.
Yeah, that's an older book of his, right?
It's a great book, though. I read it and it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even remember which book of his is out, but we use his, it might be that, like we have a tactical meeting, we have a strategic meeting, we do strategic planning every year, and some of his structural ideas we've implemented here. He's the one that taught about hire humble, hungry, and smart. So he talks about how to hire, building trust in your leadership team. I would highly encourage people to check him out as an author.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Yeah, I listen to a ton. Entree Leadership, Grow Your Small Business. What else do I got? And then I just let myself enjoy others. So I have like History Chicks or This American Life, or, archaeology ones and paleontology ones. So I'm constantly listening to podcasts. LinkedIn, I'm highly involved on LinkedIn. That's been helpful.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Set your KPIs. We measure a lot of things here, from, how many phone calls we make, how many touch points do we do on the marketing side, all the social media statistics. We have what we call time goals. We know every hour that people put on a line here. And so everybody is measured here. So we have all those KPIs set for every department, and we review those all the time.
Yeah. What can be measured can be managed, they say.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 31 years ago?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. It's just overnight success takes 30 years. Stick to it. The grit, that there's going to be ups and downs, but it built a great life for me, and it's a legacy, and seen the world and have these wonderful stories out there and all across the United States and the world. So stick to it, young Betty.
Fantastic. Thanks, Betty. I really enjoyed the chat today, and I think the audience get a lot of value out of it. Congratulations to you and the team. That's phenomenal success over 31 years, growth in a sector or a niche I never would have thought it was out there. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.